Well, well, well. It's the end of an era. That's right, folks. After 2 long, excruciating, painful years of Ohio State fans claiming that there's going to be a hammer coming down on Michigan football. I shouldn't say Ohio State fans. It's more like Ohio State publications, media, actually from all over the place even. It wasn't just Ohio State. Michigan State too, because they have little brother syndrome. But for 2 long years of that, it's finally over. And I could talk about the punishment. You've all seen it. I could talk about the meltdown. And I will a little bit because it's hilarious. But I think basically all of this can be summed up in 4 words. Buckeyes are in shambles.
Touchdown, Wolverine!
Yeah, we really need to make that t-shirt. I feel like that would sell pretty well, but nevertheless, it's true. Buckeyes are in shambles. Michigan State fans are in shambles. Central Michigan fans are in shambles. Probably, actually, they might be in shambles. I don't know. The NCAA hasn't announced any ruling about Central Michigan's part in all of this. But nevertheless, it's over for Michigan. Actually, it's not over, but we'll get to that in a second. These are the punishments. I kept looking around. Everybody was posting the punishments earlier on X today, and I couldn't find them on anywhere at this point at about 5:30, except for this Ohio State channel or account. So thanks to him for doing that. I guess he was responding to Swanky Wolverine, but either way, thank you for doing that because I couldn't find it anywhere else. And I really wasn't looking that hard anyway because I'm actually still getting over being sick. Frankly, the fact that this video is happening at all is kind of a miracle because I don't know if you can tell on camera, but my nose makes Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer jealous. Basically, the highlights: Connor Stalions, 8-year show cause order. Jim Harbaugh, 10-year show cause, which who cares? He's never playing he's never coaching in CFB ever again. He's going to go win himself a Super Bowl, hopefully after the Lions do. Denard Robinson, 3-year show cause. That one kind of sucks, but I don't know. Denard Robinson's kind of gotten himself in some hot water lately, so it's just a bummer all the way around. Anthony Broom commented saying, in case you were wondering how the Zoom has been going, an Ohio State writer has just attempted to turn this into a town hall event and project his feelings. Losers. The NCAA, this from Clayton Safey. The NCAA found no evidence that Jim Harbaugh or Michigan coaches directed or had knowledge of low-level staffers Connor Stalions' alleged off-campus scouting operation. If you read the actual note that the NCAA wrote about this whole thing, it says that they had evidence that Michigan destroyed evidence. Now, I would make the point that you need some evidence backing up the accusations that Michigan destroyed evidence, because now you've got a bunch of Buckeyes all over Twitter saying, well, they cheated and then destroyed the evidence, and the NCAA said, that's fine. Like, no, we need some sort of evidence. Like, normally when you have evidence of something being destroyed, you can say, hey, look at this thing that's destroyed. Like with a certain hard drive from a certain politician that was wiped clean by a certain chemical thingamajigger. They found the hard drive. And apparently she didn't even do it right because they were still able to get the hard drive to work, but whatever. That's from Michigan Podcast. Here we go. Okay, so this one I thought was pretty funny. Message Board Genius posted these from Bucknuts. Hawk47 saying, if I were a student at UM, I would assume it is okay to cheat on term papers, exams, etc. Seems to be the behavior accepted by their so-called leaders. Except it wasn't. And, some people will just never be convinced of that. Noah Buckeye says, this is a joke. This has ruined the rivalry for me. Wow. Just another game. Dude, the CFP already made it just another game. Like, shut up. I haven't viewed it the same since the cheating scandal started. Dude, you haven't viewed it the same since 2021 when your team started sucking. All right? Skipped one. Moral of the story, if you get caught cheating as a college sports program, the correct way to handle it is to fight, lie, obfuscate, I think he spelled that wrong still, and deflect, the organizational equivalent of deny till you die. The NCAA will not hold you accountable in the end, even if you refuse to cooperate. Oh boy. Okay. There is some stuff that says that they didn't cooperate as well as the NCAA would have liked them to. that is all extremely subjective. That is up to the NCAA's definition of what counts as cooperation. I mean, freaking Sharon Moore got the show cause. That you can read this in the NCAA's letter, I believe. But Sharon Moore got the show cause, from what I understand, because he had deleted text messages from Connor Stallions, and he was able to get them back. He was able to get the text messages back. He sent those text messages to the NCAA, and the NCAA looked through them and found nothing incriminating. But they still hit him with the show cause because this was considered not being willing to cooperate. The fact that he deleted them in the first place. Doesn't matter that he got them back. Doesn't matter that there was nothing in there. The NCAA just went, oh, well, you still deleted them in the first place, so suspicious. It's just, this is what we're dealing with the NCAA. We're dealing with a bunch of cowards. We're dealing with a bunch of people who know that their organization is dying. They know that it's dying. I've said this before. They have dying star syndrome, the NCAA. They know that their organization is already basically meaningless. They know that everybody hates them. They know that the College Football Commission is coming next year and will basically have no power. So can they even enforce the show causes after they implode on themselves next year? I don't know. How in the F do they get to keep their wins? Because they didn't cheat, Noah Buckeye. Because they didn't cheat. That's from 11 Warriors. I mean, if you go through my timeline on Twitter is just freaking hilarious. Taylor Lewan coming in hot here. Pete Thamel, Michigan continuing to show verbal bluster. They take a shot at the NCAA today, claiming fundamental errors in interpreting NCAA bylaws without specifying. Prior AD Ward manual called a Big Ten penalty completely unethical before pulling back on threat to go to court. Yeah, because they thought that it would be over with. They thought, okay, we'll suspend Harbaugh for those 3 games, and then they thought that it would be over with. Also, I think that wasn't even just about the sign steal. I thought that was about Burgergate or something like that. It was either the first 3 games was about Burgergate, and then the last 3 games was about sign stealing or yada yada. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Okay, and Pete Thamel, just out here showing his colors as an objective journalist, Pete Thamel. If anything, Pete Thamel's entire career has been nothing but bluster. I mean, the guy doesn't like Michigan and refuses to look into the actual situation to see what happened and realize that Michigan didn't do anything wrong. I mean, and frankly, I can't definitively say that Michigan didn't cooperate with the NCAA's investigation anyway, because it's based on the NCAA's interpretation of cooperating with their own investigation. Okay, now, look, I'm a casual, all right? I'm a fan. I'm not an expert. Maybe I've got something wrong here. Maybe something came out that I haven't seen. But from what I have seen, it's all very subjective. The NCAA made their own rules. They're the ones interpreting their own rules. There are no checks and balances here. Okay, there is no third party that's able to interpret the rules and then say, yes, Michigan actually broke X, Y, and Z. The NCAA made the rules, they enforced them like they're a cartel, and then decided that Michigan broke the uncooperative rules based on their own interpretation of their own rule or of their own cooperation rules. Yeah, whatever. It's just all very subjective. But I mean, this is my timeline. I mean, and this is what's really funny. Actually, it's not funny, but Isaiah Hole mentioned this. So Michigan is set to appeal the ruling from today. This is a statement from you've got the University of Michigan, the athletic director, and Sharon Moore. And I think the one from the university is actually the kind of the harder hitting one. Actually, I think it is the hardest hitting one. I'll go into it. Statement from the University of Michigan. We appreciate the work of the Committee on Infractions, but respectfully, in a number of instances, the decision makes fundamental errors in interpreting NCAA bylaws, and it includes a number of conclusions that are directly contrary to the evidence or lack of evidence in the record. We will appeal this decision to ensure a fair result, and we will consider all other options. So here's the thing. Yeah, if you look in the NCAA's ruling, they say that they don't have evidence to actually uphold the ruling. They say, I mean, there's one part where they say that Honestly, Michigan's behavior warrants like a 2 or 3 year postseason ban, but they didn't do it and went with the equivalent of a postseason revenue penalty. But they don't actually have, they mentioned at one point that they don't actually have the evidence and then claim that Michigan destroyed the evidence. But they don't have any evidence to suggest that Michigan destroyed the evidence. Why? Because maybe Michigan destroyed that evidence too. The thing is that there is a trail somewhere. Okay, there is something that happened somewhere. You should be able to find evidence to suggest something. I mean, how do you know Michigan destroyed the evidence? The fact that no evidence exists doesn't mean that Michigan destroyed the evidence. Now, they do mention at one point, and I will say that this kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit about Connor Stalions. They do say at one point that Connor Stalions shattered his phone and then threw it into a pond. That's weird. Okay, if that actually happened. I know the Maize n Brew guys, they were talking. I had mentioned this in a super chat to them and said, what do we think? They kind of laughed it off. I don't know that I would laugh it off necessarily. I just don't really understand why Connor Stalions would do that. But again, that's Connor Stalions, not Michigan. And that's not, frankly, there's no evidence that Connor Stalions actually did anything to provide Michigan an unfair advantage or steal signs or anything that he frankly didn't already have. So there's nothing that ties this back to any rule that Connor Stalions broke in terms of the unfair advantage. So then why did he throw his phone into a pond? That's just kind of weird. I mean, but the thing is that it could be any reason. I mean, Connor Stalions had said to Steve Dace that basically his life was being destroyed. And frankly, it was. The guy's name has been slandered all over all social media. When you mention Michigan, the first thing people think of now is Connor Stalions. And how Connor Stalions was this epic cheater because the NCAA said that they found evidence, which they didn't actually have evidence. And also, just noting, Michigan, Steve Dace said this. Nope, Steve Dace said it in a different tweet. Okay, so the NCAA found that no evidence of Jim Harbaugh or Michigan coaches being connected. Oh, did I move on from the tweet? I must have. All right, well, in any case, the Big Ten, when they handed down their punishment onto Jim Harbaugh in 2023, even said in their letter, we don't have the evidence, but the NCAA says they do. We haven't seen it. And we still haven't, to this day, have not seen the evidence that the NCAA has claimed that they have. So it's all very weird. It's all very weird. And frankly, the thing is you can't make a firm claim without evidence. Now, if evidence was there and it was destroyed, then that sucks. But the NCAA said that they had evidence. And now all of a sudden they don't because it was destroyed. So which came first? Did you have the evidence and then Michigan destroyed it? Or did Michigan destroy the evidence and you had evidence of that? If you have evidence of that, beyond Connor Stalions throwing his phone into a pond, present it. You should present that. Ward Manuel's statement is fairly vanilla. He just comments on his support for Sharon Moore, etc., etc. Sharon Moore saying that he's glad that this part of the process has been completed. He greatly respects the rules governing collegiate athletics, and it is my intent to have our program comply with those rules at all times. I will focus my attention on our team and the upcoming 2025 season. Now, Sharon Moore got hit with that 2-year show cause or 3-year show cause. He's going to be suspended for one more game. That's going to be against Western Michigan in Germany in 2026. Why they pick next year, don't know, but there you go. But hey, maybe my alma mater actually has a chance at upsetting Michigan now, right? Anyway, yeah, wild stuff. The one thing that came out of this is Chris Partridge was basically fully exonerated. And Michigan should bring him back. Michigan really should bring him back. He was an incredible coach. He was very good for the program. And I'm just going to go through my tweets real quick and make sure that I haven't missed anything. Running on 15 and a half minutes here. Okay, so this case just shows how far the NCAA overstepped in Penn State's case. Yeah, okay, so I'll say this too. The tattoo stuff from Ohio State and what happened with Jerry Sandusky at Penn State. The NCAA was ridiculous in both. Ohio State should not have gotten games vacated. That's just really stupid. It sucks that Jim Tressel covered it up. It does. But at the end of the day, the advantage given was what? Ohio State still had the players. They just got impermissible benefits, which, oh, by the way, right now we call that NIL. All right? Penn State, the players didn't do anything. Why did they have wins vacated? Why did they get a postseason ban? That's ridiculous. The NCAA ended up pulling that off after a couple of years because of quote-unquote good behavior. Horrible things happen. Okay, they do. Putting punishments on people who don't deserve them is not how you rectify the bad thing happening. Okay? I don't think the players deserved to have their games vacated at either Penn State or Ohio State. That is what it is. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Chris Partridge released a statement. I am extremely grateful for the thorough investigation done by the NCAA Infractions Committee. For almost 2 years, I sat silently while many members of the mainstream media told lies about me and why I was wrongfully terminated by the University of Michigan. It means so much to me and my family to finally have my name cleared and reputation restored. My faith in the process never wavered, and through it all, I stayed true to who I am as a person and a mentor. I remain steadfast in my passion for being a part of a team and being lockstep with my fellow coaches to provide guidance to young men as they navigate the great sport of football. Much love to all the coaches and players from Team 144. I don't know what this guy is saying. Safety co, whatever. Your name is far from cleared. LOL, the NCAA is a joke. Your evidence, sir. I mean, the NCAA is a joke. Don't get me wrong. The NCAA is a joke, but not for the reason you think it is. Here we go. Okay, so this is interesting. Ross Dellinger tweeted, Norman Bay, public member of the NCAA Committee on Infractions and chief hearing officer for the panel, kicks off the news conference. So they had a news conference today. I believe that started at noon Eastern. Kicks off the news conference on the sign stealing decision. Says, quote, you don't put together individuals called the KGB unless you intend to gain a competitive advantage. Steve Dace comments on this and says, again, competitive advantage isn't a standard. Literally everything is done in sports for a competitive advantage. That's true. The standard is what is the intent and spirit of the rule Michigan is alleged to have broken. This is a canard and one of the reasons why Michigan will appeal. I don't know what the word canard means. Canard definition. I am curious. An unfounded rumor or story. Oh, there you go. You learned something today on the Michigan Wolverine team rivalry show. I guess that's another part of this whole thing that is so subjective. Competitive advantage. What does that even mean? Because first off, Connor Stellions already had all the signs that he needed. People sending him anything, they didn't send him anything he didn't already have. Then also, you still got to play the game on the field. But whatever. We've talked about this before on the show. I think I'm just going to leave it. 11 Warriors. The NCAA says it found insufficient evidence that Michigan's actions impacted the results of games and believe its penalties against the Wolverines are very significant. Well, they're not really. I mean, they're more significant than we thought, but they're not that significant. But the NCAA admits that they have insufficient evidence. And that's what this whole thing is. When it's all said and done, I think what we're left with now is just more questions than answers. But the conspiracy theorists will run wild. They will, as they always do on X, because X isn't real life. It's just an echo chamber. But we're going to be left with more questions than answers. Like, what was the evidence that they said they had in the first place? Why do they suddenly not have that evidence? Why did the Big Ten throw a punishment on Jim Harbaugh when they also said they had no evidence? They just believed the NCAA did, which apparently they didn't. What are we supposed to believe now? I think in the end, all of us can really just look at this. I mean, whether you're on, the Michigan side or the non-Michigan side, you just look at this and you say the NCAA is a joke. And they are. I think that this punishment is too severe for the insufficient amount of evidence that there was, or wasn't. Was, whatever. But in the end, the NCAA is a joke. Whether you think Michigan are cheated or not. And they need to be done away with. And I'm going to leave it right there. Dare I ask what you people think? I'm going to get absolutely hammered in the comment section. I know it. It's going to be great. So whatever. Anyway, I guess, yeah, if you really feel like telling me what you think, just go ahead, tell me what you think. Don't forget to like the video, please, for the love of all that is great. Like the video, because we need the help in the algorithm. And hopefully I feel better soon. I feel like crap. You're welcome for this video. We'll hopefully see you in the next one, as long as I don't die.